Admiral James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the holographic map that filled the center of the war room. The blue dots representing coalition ships were few and scattered. The red mass of the Dominion fleet moved steadily toward Earth, growing larger each day. He didn't need the computer to tell them the odds. They were going to lose. "Admiral, the Council is waiting," said his aide. Walker nodded and straightened his uniform. At 55, his body still stood tall and strong, but his eyes showed the weight of 10 years of retreat and loss. He walked through the metal hallways of Coalition Station Alpha, the last major space station defending Earth. People moved quickly, with purpose, but he saw the fear in their eyes. Everyone knew what was coming. The council room fell silent as Walker entered. Representatives from the 12 alien races that made up the Galactic Coalition sat around a large table. Some appeared as holograms, their worlds already under attack. "The Dominion fleet will reach Earth in 5 days," Walker said without greeting. "We have 47 capital ships and 126 smaller vessels. They have at least 3 times that number." The alien named Gorn, with his gray skin and 4 eyes, spoke first. "Then we must surrender. There is no hope of victory." "Surrender means death," replied Tella, the plant-like representative who had lost her homeworld last year. "The Dominion does not take prisoners. They harvest resources, including people." Walker was about to speak when the door opened. A young woman entered, her uniform wrinkled as if she had been traveling for days without rest. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and she carried a data pad with a death grip. "Lieutenant Anna Reed, Intelligence Division," she announced, looking around the room with determined eyes. "I need to speak with the council. It's urgent." Walker recognized her. She had been stationed on the Outer Rim, gathering information about Dominion movements. "Lieutenant, we're in the middle off." "Sir, I may have found our only chance," Reed interrupted. The room went silent. Hope was in short supply these days. Walker nodded for her to continue. Reed placed her data pad on the table, and a 3D image appeared above it. A strange ship, long and black, with an unusual design unlike anything in the Coalition fleet. "This is the Nemesis," she said. The room erupted in murmurs. Walker raised an eyebrow. "The Nemesis is a myth, Lieutenant." "With all due respect, sir, it's not," Reed replied firmly. "I spent the last 6 months tracking down rumors, old reports, and witness accounts. The Nemesis is real, a human warship built in secret before we joined the Coalition. It's been hiding for 30 years. Gorn laughed, a harsh sound. "Human propaganda. A ghost story to raise morale." Reed's eyes flashed with anger. "I have coordinates, sir, and activation codes, and 3 separate battle recordings showing a ship matching this description appearing during major battles, destroying multiple Dominion vessels, and then vanishing." Walker studied the image. The ship design was like nothing in their fleet, all sharp angles and black metal, with weapon ports along its hull that didn't match any known human technology. "If such a weapon existed, why would your people hide it from the Coalition?" asked Tella. Before Reed could answer, an alert sounded. A communication officer's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Dominion flagship." The hologram in the center of the room changed, showing a Dominion commander. The alien's scaled face filled the screen, yellow eyes unblinking. "Coalition leaders," the commander said, voice translated by the computer. "This conflict ends now. Surrender Earth and all remaining worlds within 48 hours, or we will destroy them all. Your species will be preserved in our work camps. This is our final offer." The transmission ended. The room remained silent. Walker looked at Reed. "Lieutenant, how certain are you about these coordinates?" "Certain enough to bet my life on it, sir." Walker made his decision. "Prepare a stealth ship. Lieutenant Reed, choose a small team. You'll investigate these coordinates while we prepare for battle." "Admiral," Gorn protested, "we should discuss surrender terms." Walker faced the council. My people have a saying, better to die on your feet than live on your knees. I won't surrender Earth without a fight. If there's even a small chance this ship exists, we must try to find it. Commander Marcus Bell was cleaning his sidearm when the call came. The stocky, black-haired officer had been expecting to be assigned to a destroyer for the final battle. Instead, he found himself reporting to a small hangar bay where a stealth ship waited. Lieutenant Reed stood at the ramp, alongside an older man with gray-streaked hair and oil-stained hands. "Commander Bell," Reed said with a nod. "Thank you for coming." "I wasn't given much choice," Bell replied. "What's this about?" "We're going on a treasure hunt," said the older man with a crooked smile. "Tom Miller, Engineering Division. I'll be keeping this bucket flying while you two find the big prize." "What prize?" Bell asked. Reed lowered her voice. "The Nemesis." Bell stared at her. Everyone had heard the stories. A superweapon built by humans, appearing like a ghost to save desperate battles before vanishing again. But no one with rank actually believed it. "Lieutenant, the Nemesis is real," Reed cut him off. "I have proof. And coordinates. Admiral Walker has given us 48 hours to find it before the Dominion arrives." She handed him a datapad. "These are your orders." Bell read quickly, his expression changing from doubt to surprise. The orders were clear, signed by Walker himself. "Find the ship. Bring it back. Save Earth." "We leave in 30 minutes, Reed said. "Pack light." As Reed walked away, Miller leaned closer to Bell. "I've heard stories about that ship since I was a cadet," the engineer said quietly. "My brother served on a cruiser that was saved by something matching its description. Said it appeared out of nowhere, destroyed 3 Dominion dreadnoughts in less than a minute, then vanished." "And you believe that?" Bell asked. Miller shrugged. "I believe we're out of options, and sometimes, Commander, myths exist for a reason." The stealth ship departed from Coalition Station Alpha under cover of a supply run. As they cleared Earth's gravity well, Bell took one last look at the blue planet below. Home, perhaps for the last time. Reed entered the coordinates into the navigation system. "Setting course for the Kuiper Belt. We'll need to pass through 2 Dominion patrol zones." "How did you find these coordinates?" Bell asked. Reed's eyes stayed on her console. "I followed the ghosts, Commander. For 6 months, I traced every reported sighting, interviewed every survivor who claimed to have seen the Nemesis, found patterns, and then I found someone who knew where it was hidden." "Who?" "The ship's last captain," she said. "Or what was left of him." The small ship engaged its stealth systems and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system, carrying 3 humans and 1 desperate hope. The stealth ship cut through the darkness of space, its engines barely making a sound. Commander Bell checked the oxygen levels for the 3rd time in an hour. They were running low, but still enough to complete the mission, if they found anything at all. "How much further?" Bell asked, looking over at Reed. "We're approaching the outer edge of the Kuiper Belt," she replied, her eyes fixed on the navigation screen. "The coordinates point to an asteroid cluster just beyond Pluto's orbit." Tom Miller floated into the cockpit, holding onto handrails to steady himself in the low gravity. 20 hours of oxygen left, he said. "After that, we're breathing vacuum." Bell nodded. "What exactly do you expect to find out here, Lieutenant? There's nothing but ice and rock for billions of miles." Reed finally looked up from her screen. "The perfect hiding place, don't you think?" The ship shuddered as they entered the asteroid field. Huge chunks of rock and ice floated past them, some as large as mountains. Miller took control of the navigation, his experienced hands guiding them through the dangerous maze. "Slow down," Reed said suddenly. "There, that large asteroid to the right." Bell squinted through the viewport. The asteroid looked like any other, dark, cratered, spinning slowly in the void. "What am I looking for?" he asked. Reed pointed to a small, blinking light on the asteroid's surface. "That's a navigation marker. Old human technology, pre-coalition." Miller whistled. "She's right. That's a Mark IV beacon. We stopped using those 25 years ago. They approached the asteroid carefully. As they got closer, Bell could see that it wasn't spinning as he'd first thought. It was perfectly still, as if someone had stopped its natural movement. "Scan it," he ordered. Miller ran the ship's sensors over the asteroid. "This is strange. It's hollow." "Not hollow," Reed corrected. "Hollowed out." The small ship circled the asteroid until they found what looked like a crack in its surface. As they got closer, the crack widened, revealing a hidden entrance large enough for a ship to pass through. Reed entered a code into her console, and lights along the entrance flickered to life, illuminating a path into the asteroid. "How did you get those codes?" Bell asked, suspicious. Reed's face remained neutral. "The same place I got the coordinates." Miller guided the ship into the entrance, which opened into a massive cavern carved from the asteroid's interior. As the ship's lights swept across the space, they all fell silent. In the center of the cavern floated a ship unlike anything Bell had ever seen. It was enormous, at least a kilometer long, with a black hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its shape was all wrong for a human vessel, with sharp angles and sections that seemed to fold into impossible geometries. "That can't be human-made," Bell whispered. "But it is," Miller said, his voice filled with awe. "At least partly. I've heard stories about this ship since I was a cadet. They said it was built using technology from a crashed alien ship, something even older than the Dominion." Reed guided their ship toward a docking port on the larger vessel's side. The Nemesis was built 30 years ago, before humanity joined the Galactic Coalition. When we signed the treaty, Earth's government was required to share all military technology with our new allies. But this ship, she paused, this ship was too dangerous to share, so they hid it out here as a last resort. And now we need that last resort, Bell finished. They docked with the silent giant. The airlock cycled, and they stepped onto the Nemesis for the first time. The corridors were dark, lit only by their flashlights. The air was stale but breathable. "No crew?" Bell asked, looking around at the empty passageways. "Automated systems," Miller guessed. "A-controlled, probably." They made their way to what seemed to be the bridge, a large circular room with control stations and a captain's chair in the center. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Reed approached the main console and wiped away the dust. She took a deep breath and entered a series of commands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum, the ship began to wake up. Lights flickered on throughout the bridge. Displays lit up, showing the ship's systems coming online. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, a human figure made of blue light. "I am Atlas, Advanced Tactical Logical Autonomous System," the hologram said. "This vessel has been in standby mode for 8,721 days. Identify yourself." Reed stepped forward. "Lieutenant Anna Reed, Earth Defense Force Intelligence Division. Authorization code Sierra. Ho Victor Echo November." The hologram seemed to study her. "Authorization accepted. Welcome aboard the Nemesis, Lieutenant Reed." Bell stepped forward. "What exactly is this ship capable of?" "The Nemesis is a prototype warship designed using both human innovation and salvage technology from precursor artifacts," Atlas replied. "It possesses weapons and defensive capabilities significantly beyond current Coalition or Dominion standards." "Precursor?" Miller asked. "What's that?" "The species that came before all others," Atlas said. "Their civilization fell millions of years ago, but their technology was far advanced beyond anything currently known. The Nemesis was built around a precursor power core and weapons system." A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Atlas's hologram flickered. "Warning! Multiple vessels detected entering the asteroid field. Signature analysis indicates Dominion scout ships." "They followed us," Bell said, turning to Reed. "We led them right to it." Reed was already at a console. "Atlas, can we power up the engines? We need to move now." "Full power-up requires a 40-minute startup sequence," the AI responded. "Emergency power is available for basic maneuvering and minimal weapons." Miller rushed to what appeared to be an engineering station. "I can bypass some of the startup protocols. Give me 10 minutes. Bell looked at the tactical display. 3 Dominion scout ships were moving through the asteroid field, heading directly for their position. "We don't have 10 minutes, he said grimly. "Atlas, what weapons do we have available now?" "Forward point defense cannons are operational at 20% capacity," the AI replied. Bell sat in the captain's chair. "Then let's see what 20% of a myth can do against reality." The Nemesis began to move, breaking free from its dock inside the asteroid as the Dominion scouts closed in. The first real test of the legendary warship was about to begin. The Nemesis shuddered as it broke free from its hiding place. Chunks of asteroid scattered into space as the massive black ship emerged like a predator from its den. On the bridge, Bell gripped the captain's chair as Miller worked frantically at the engineering station. "Dominion scouts, 1 minute out," Reed called, watching the tactical display. "They've spotted us. They're calling for backup." Bell leaned forward. "Atlas, what can these point defense cannons do?" The blue hologram flickered next to him. "The forward cannons use concentrated plasma bursts. Even at reduced power, they can penetrate standard Dominion shields." "Target the lead scout," Bell ordered. The ship's systems responded instantly. On the main screen, they watched as a pulse of blue energy shot from the Nemesis, striking the first Dominion scout. The smaller ship's shields flashed bright orange before failing completely. A second burst tore through its hull, splitting the scout in two. Miller let out a low whistle. "That's 20% power. What happens at full capacity?" The remaining scouts broke formation, firing energy weapons at the Nemesis. The ship rocked slightly as the shots hit. "Minimal damage to outer hull," Atlas reported. "Shields are now at 15% capacity and rising." Bell pointed to the tactical display. "Can we outrun them back to Earth?" Miller shook his head. "Not at current power levels. We need full engine capacity. And we need a crew," Reed added. "This ship was designed for at least 50 people." Atlas's hologram grew slightly larger. The Nemesis was designed to function with minimal human operation through neural linking. Reed turned sharply to face the AI. "Neural linking? What does that mean?" "The primary systems can interface directly with a human brain," Atlas explained. "This allows for instantaneous control and response times far beyond standard manual operation." Bell stood up. "Is that safe?" "There is a 14% risk of permanent neurological damage," Atlas stated flatly. "However, in current combat conditions, the risk of destruction without neural linking is 78%. Another hit from the Dominion scouts rocked the ship. Alarms blared as new contacts appeared on the tactical display. "Dominion cruiser incoming," Reed announced. "Heavy weapons, full crew. We can't fight that with 20% power." Bell made his decision. "Atlas, how do we initiate neural linking?" "Commander, you can't be serious," Miller protested. "We don't have a choice," Bell replied. "If we lose this ship, Earth falls." Atlas directed them to a small room off the bridge. In the center sat a chair with strange attachments, looking more like a torture device than a control station. "The neural interface chair," Atlas explained. "It will connect the operator directly to the ship's systems." Bell looked at Reed and Miller. "Keep the ship running." "I'll do this." "Commander," Reed began. "That's an order, Lieutenant," Bell said firmly. He sat in the chair. Metal bands automatically closed around his wrists and ankles. A helmet-like device lowered onto his head, small needles extending toward his skull. "Neural linking beginning," Atlas announced. "Please remain still." Pain shot through Bell's body as the needles pierced his skin. He clenched his teeth to keep from screaming. Images flashed in his mind. star systems, weapons schematics, battle formations. He felt the ship around him, not as something separate, but as an extension of himself. On the bridge, Reed and Miller watched in amazement as the Nemesis transformed. The black hull began to pulse with veins of blue energy. Systems came online faster than Miller could track them. Power levels at 70% and climbing, Atlas reported. Weapons systems fully operational. Shields at maximum capacity. The Dominion cruiser appeared, its weapons charging. Before it could fire, the Nemesis moved with impossible speed, circling behind the larger ship. Weapons ports opened along the black hull, releasing a barrage of energy that cut through the cruiser's shields like they were paper. In the Neuralink chair, Bell felt every movement, every weapon firing, as if it were his own body. Through the ship's sensors, he could see the remaining scout ships attempting to flee. Target engines only, he managed to say through gritted teeth. We need prisoners. Precise shots disabled the scout ships without destroying them. The Nemesis extended mechanical arms, capturing the disabled vessels and pulling them into a cargo hold. Miller returned to the bridge from checking on Bell. He's stable, but in pain. The Neuralink is working, but it's taking a toll on him. Reed nodded. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. The Nemesis turned toward home, its engines glowing with blue fire. As they accelerated, Reed studied the ship's database. This is incredible, she said. The weapons systems, the shields, they're adaptive. They learn from each attack and adjust automatically. Miller pointed to another screen. Look at this. According to these logs, the Nemesis has been activated before, at least 6 times in the past 30 years. The ghost ship sightings, Reed realized. They weren't myths. Someone was using it in emergencies, then hiding it again. In the Neuralink chair, Bell saw more than just the ship's systems. He accessed memories stored in the ship's database. Previous battles where the Nemesis had appeared, turned the tide, then vanished again before anyone could confirm its existence. The faces of previous captains flashed in his mind, each one looking more haggard than the last. The Neuralink had damaged them all. Atlas appeared beside Reed. We will reach Earth in 6 hours at current speed. However, based on last known Dominion fleet positions, we will arrive during the main battle. Reed's face hardened. Then we'll have to make an entrance they won't forget. As the Nemesis raced toward Earth, the Dominion Armada was already moving into attack position. On Coalition Station Alpha, Admiral Walker received a garbled transmission. Sir, a communications officer called. Message from Commander Bell's team. Walker rushed over. On the screen, Lieutenant Reed's face appeared, the image breaking up with static. Admiral, she said, her voice barely audible. The Nemesis is real. We're bringing it home. Walker felt hope for the first time in months. How long? 6 hours, Reed replied. Hold them off until we get there. The transmission cut out as Walker turned to his staff. Prepare all ships for battle. We need to buy them 6 hours. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, with humanity's last hope racing against time. The sky above Earth burned. Hundreds of ships filled the space around the blue planet, energy weapons flashing between them like deadly lightning. The Coalition fleet formed a defensive line, struggling to hold back the much larger Dominion Armada. On the bridge of his damaged flagship, Admiral Walker watched another friendly ship explode. That made 7 lost in the first hour alone. Reports came in from across the system. 3 colony worlds had already fallen. The Dominion was pushing through their defenses faster than expected. Sir, his tactical officer called out, the Dominion flagship is moving into position. It's the Obliterator. Walker's blood ran cold. The Obliterator was a planet killer, a massive dreadnought commanded by High Commander Vex, the most ruthless of the Dominion leaders. Its main weapon could crack a planet's crust, making it uninhabitable. If it got within firing range of Earth, all ships focus fire on the Obliterator, Walker ordered. We need to buy more time. The coalition ships adjusted their formation, concentrating their attack on the Dominion flagship, but their weapons barely dented its powerful shields. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we're receiving reports from our outer system patrols. They've all gone silent." Walker frowned. Had the Dominion sent ships to flank them? He couldn't spare any vessels to investigate. "How long until the Obliterator is in firing position?" he asked. 20 minutes, sir," came the grim reply. Walker closed his eyes briefly. Where was the Nemesis? Had Reed's team failed? Or worse, had the whole thing been a myth after all? Inside the neural link chair, Commander Bell felt the Nemesis as if it were his own body. The ship raced through space toward Earth, leaving a trail of distorted stars behind it. The experimental drive pushed the vessel to speeds no human ship had ever achieved. Miller monitored Bell's vital signs with growing concern. "His heart rate is too high," he told Reed. "Brain activity is off the charts. The neural link is putting too much strain on him." Reed looked at Bell's face, twisted in pain but determined. "Can we disconnect him?" "Not at this speed," Miller replied. "The shock could kill him." Reed turned to Atlas. "How much longer until we reach Earth?" 8 minutes at current velocity. The AI responded. However, sensors indicate the final battle has already begun. Dominion forces have broken through the outer defenses. Reed studied the tactical data flowing across her screen. "The Obliterator is there," she said, "if it gets within range of Earth." Bell's eyes snapped open, glowing with the same blue energy that pulsed through the ship. "We won't let that happen," he said, his voice strange and distant, as if coming from both him and the ship at once. Reed looked at Miller, who shrugged helplessly. "The neural link is deeper than Atlas predicted. I think he's actually becoming part of the ship's systems. Or they're becoming part of him," Reed said quietly. On the bridge of the Obliterator, High Commander Vex watched with satisfaction as his fleet tore through the human defenses. The pathetic coalition had resisted longer than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. "We are in position," High Commander, his second-in-command, reported. "Planet killer charging. Ready to fire in 5 minutes." Vex's scaled lips curved into what passed for a smile among his species. "Excellent. Send a message to all coalition forces. Tell them to watch as we turn their precious Earth into a burning rock." "High Commander," the sensor officer suddenly called out. "Unknown contact approaching from behind our lines." Vex spun around. "Show me." The main screen displayed a black ship cutting through his rear fleet like a knife. It moved with impossible speed, its weapons tearing through Dominion vessels before they could even react. "What is that?" Vex demanded. "Unknown design," the sensor officer replied, voice shaking. "It's not in our database. Sci's estimate puts it at just over 1 kilometer in length." Vex had never seen anything like it. The ship was destroying his vessels with ease, its weapons adapting to each ship's defenses. "All ships, destroy that vessel," he ordered. The Nemesis dropped out of high speed at the edge of the battle. Through the ship's sensors, Bell saw the chaos around Earth. Hundreds of Coalition and Dominion ships locked in combat, with the massive form of the Obliterator moving into position to target Earth. "Target the Obliterator's main weapon," Bell commanded. The Nemesis moved into the battle without announcing its presence. It appeared suddenly behind the Dominion's lines, its weapons firing with deadly precision. 10 Dominion ships fell in the first 30 seconds as the legendary vessel carved a path toward the flagship. On Coalition ships across the battlefield, crews stopped to stare at their sensors. The mysterious vessel moved like nothing they had ever seen, its black hull absorbing weapons fire while its own attacks cut through Dominion shields with ease. "Sir," Walker's tactical officer called out, excitement in his voice for the first time in days. "Look at this." Walker stared at the sensor readings. A ship unlike any he had ever seen was attacking the Dominion fleet from behind, destroying vessels with impossible efficiency. "It's the Nemesis," he whispered. Then louder, "It's the Nemesis. All ships, press the attack." Support that vessel. Across the coalition fleet, hope surged as they witnessed the myth made real. The black ship tore through the Dominion forces, creating chaos in their previously ordered ranks. The Obliterator turned its massive weapons away from Earth, focusing instead on this new threat. Hundreds of energy beams shot toward the Nemesis, most missing as the ship moved with unnatural agility. The ship is shifting its attack pattern, Miller observed, watching the tactical display. It's learning from each Dominion ship it destroys, adapting its weapons to be more effective. Reed nodded. The adaptive systems Atlas mentioned. They're analyzing Dominion weaknesses in real time. High Commander Vex watched in rage as his carefully planned attack fell into disarray. Half his fleet was now turning to deal with this single ship, giving the coalition forces time to regroup. "What is this ship?" he demanded. "Where did it come from?" "High Commander," his second-in-command said hesitantly, "there are stories among the humans of a ghost ship, a vessel that appears in desperate battles and then vanishes. They call it the Nemesis. Legends," Vex spat. "Myths to frighten children." "The planet killer is still charging, High Commander," his weapons officer reported. "Shall we continue targeting Earth?" Vex stared at the black ship tearing through his fleet. "No, target that ship. Full power. I want it destroyed." The Obliterator turned its massive main weapon toward the Nemesis. Energy built up at the front of the dreadnought, a gathering storm of destructive power. In the Neuralink chair, Bell felt the buildup of energy. "They're targeting us with their main weapon," he said, his voice calm despite the danger. "All power to forward shields." Reed looked at Miller. "Can our shields withstand that kind of attack?" Miller studied the ship's specifications. "I don't know. Nothing in our records suggests any shield could survive a direct hit from a planet killer." The Nemesis turned to face the Obliterator directly. The two titans of space prepared to clash, while the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Obliterator's main weapon glowed with deadly energy, aimed directly at the Nemesis. The black ship hung in space, its blue veins of energy pulsing faster now as it faced its greatest test. On the Nemesis bridge, Reed and Miller watched the enormous energy build up on their screens. "Firing in 10 seconds, Atlas announced. Reed looked toward the neural link room, where Bell was connected to the ship. "Can we evade?" "Negative," Atlas replied. "The weapon's area of effect is too wide. Direct impact is unavoidable." Miller grabbed a console as the ship adjusted position. "Our shields can't take that kind of hit." In the neural link chair, Bell saw everything. Through the ship's advanced sensors, he could see the energy gathering in the Obliterator's main cannon. He could calculate the exact power level, the precise area of effect. And he knew the Nemesis couldn't survive a direct hit. But he saw something else too. Memories stored in the ship's database, knowledge from the ancient precursors who had built the original technology. The Nemesis had one final weapon, one that had never been used. "Reed, Miller," Bell called, his voice strained. "I need you in the escape pod." Reed's voice came through the ship's comms. "What are you talking about? We're not leaving." "The ship has a gravitational singularity device," Bell explained, speaking quickly as the Obliterator prepared to fire. "It can create a controlled black hole. If I use it this close to the Obliterator, I can destroy it before it fires." "A black hole," Miller exclaimed. "That close to Earth, it could tear the planet apart." "Not if I calculate the collapse precisely," Bell said. "But I need complete neural integration to control it. And I need you two off the ship." Reed understood immediately. The strain would kill anyone linked to the ship. "Yes," Bell admitted, "but Earth will survive. The Coalition will survive." 5 seconds until the Obliterator fired. Reed wanted to argue, but she knew there was no time. "What's your plan?" "I'm setting a collision course," Bell said. "The Nemesis will ram the Obliterator, penetrate its hull. Then I'll activate the singularity device. But you need to be gone before that happens." Miller was already moving toward the escape pods. "Commander, "Go," Bell ordered. "That's a direct order. And tell Admiral Walker. Tell him the myth ends here." Reed hesitated for just a moment, then followed Miller. "It's been an honor, Commander." In the Neuralink chair, Bell smiled despite the pain. "Likewise, Lieutenant." As the escape pod ejected from the Nemesis, Bell gave himself completely to the Neuralink. The separation between man and machine disappeared. He was the ship now, and the ship was him. The Nemesis accelerated toward the Obliterator at maximum speed. Its forward section strengthened, becoming like a massive spear. On the Obliterator's bridge, High Commander Vex watched in confusion as the black ship charged directly toward them. "They're on a collision course," his tactical officer shouted. "Evasive maneuvers." "Too late," Vex said quietly, realizing what was happening. "Fire the main weapon now." The Obliterator's planet killer fired, the massive energy beam shooting toward the Nemesis. But Bell had calculated perfectly. The black ship twisted at the last possible moment, taking only a glancing hit to its side. Its shields flared and partially failed, but the ship continued its charge. Before the Obliterator could fire again, the Nemesis crashed into its side. The reinforced prow of the legendary ship tore through the dreadnought's hull like a knife through paper. The Nemesis didn't stop, driving itself deeper into the larger ship, its weapons firing inside the enemy vessel, causing massive internal damage. Explosions rippled across the Obliterator as the Nemesis penetrated to its core. Dominion crew ran in panic as their mighty flagship was torn apart from within. From the small escape pod, Reed and Miller watched the incredible sight of the black ship embedded in the much larger Dominion vessel. "He did it," Miller whispered. Inside the joined ships, Bell activated the final sequence. The Singularity device powered up, drawing energy from the Nemesis precursor core. Through the Neuralink, Bell felt the device charging, felt the immense power building. The pain was beyond anything he had ever experienced, but he maintained control, calculating the exact moment to activate the device, and the precise settings to ensure the Singularity would collapse before it could threaten Earth. Dominion troops had begun boarding the Nemesis through the breach points, trying to stop whatever weapon the ship was preparing. But Bell locked down all sections, trapping them between ships. High Commander Vex stood on his crumbling bridge, watching system after system fail. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear. What are they doing? He demanded of no one in particular. The answer came as a sudden, terrible gravity pulled at everything around him. Consoles tore from walls, crew members flew across the room, and Vex himself was lifted from the floor as the Singularity formed at the heart of his ship. Across the battlefield, Coalition and Dominion ships alike paused as a small, dense black sphere appeared where the two flagship vessels had joined. The sphere grew rapidly, pulling in both the Nemesis and the Obliterator, crushing them into its infinite density. Admiral Walker watched from his bridge, understanding what was happening. "All ships, maximum distance from the Singularity point," he ordered. "Now." Ships from both sides scrambled to escape the growing gravitational pull. Some Dominion vessels, too close to the event, were caught and stretched into long strands of metal before disappearing into the blackness. Then, just as Bell had calculated, the Singularity collapsed in on itself. A flash of blinding light erupted from the point where the two mighty ships had been. When it faded, nothing remained but scattered debris. In the Coalition escape pod, Reed stared at the empty space where the Nemesis had been. "He did it," she said softly. "He actually did it." The remaining Dominion fleet, leaderless and shaken by the destruction of their flagship, began to retreat. One by one, their ships turned away from Earth and jumped to faster-than-light speed. Admiral Walker couldn't believe his eyes. "They're running," he said in amazement. "They're actually running." The Coalition ships held their positions, too stunned to pursue. After 10 years of retreating, of losing ground, of watching worlds fall, they had won. Walker's communications officer called out, "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from a Coalition escape pod." "It's Lieutenant Reed." Reed's face appeared on the screen, Miller beside her. "Admiral," she said, "the mission was successful. The Nemesis destroyed the Obliterator and most of the Dominion command ships. Commander Bell didn't make it." Walker nodded solemnly. "His sacrifice saved Earth, saved us all." He paused. "And the Nemesis?" "Gone, sir," Reed replied. "But we have all the data from its systems. The technology, the precursor knowledge. We can build more." "Then the myth becomes our future," Walker said. "And the Dominion will learn that humans are no longer to be underestimated." Across Earth and the remaining coalition worlds, people looked up at the stars and told the story of the ghost ship that had saved them all, the warship that was a myth, until it showed up in the final battle.